Today we're doing my favorite hero that I did play with and carried me all the way to completion in Alpha Wave 1. As the title, as the thumbnail says, it's Gilgamesh time. King of heroes. Yes, this absolute new king, as we all should now know him as, is a monster. He's honestly an absolute monster. And as an epic hero that in the game, I'm honestly looking forward to getting, even in beta and in global launch. Because if I get this hero and he doesn't get changed from Alpha Wave 1, he is gonna honestly carry me to victory. So smash like, comment, and subscribe. And let's dive into Gilgamesh, King of Heroes. This guy is honestly an absolutely massive damage dealer. He really is. When we go to his base stats here, you can see he's got a resistance of 74, accuracy of 37, but what really does stand out is the 60% critical damage. Yes, a lot of heroes has 50%, but this hero is on 60. You also have initiative 98, and then your speed is down to 83. You got 20k HP and then 1000 here, and this is at a level 50 again. 5-star pink hero on Godforge Alpha Wave 1. All of it could change. When we go to his abilities, you're going to start to realize why this hero is beloved by everyone. Because if you check out his awakenings, you'll realize like his 5th awakening is pretty cool. It allows you to have almost like a mini Hercules. Like if you die or you're going to die, you get to prevent it for one time, which is really good. If you go to A3, this is the real power of Gilgamesh, because this places a barrier on the damage that you deal, which you're going to see in a moment. Then the ability upgrade on 1 always has a 10% chance to always strong hit. That is key. That awakening 1 will be key on your Gilgamesh, because when you look at his abilities, this just says attack an enemy with an additional 20% chance to strong hit. Originally, it's only 10%. So you got to think with the awakening, you're adding that extra bit, which is so nice. This scales though of 25% of his HP and 140% of attack, which is very important because it's actually quite easy to scale your HP. That's a quarter of your HP is getting added on to the damage, and of say it's basically like 140% of your attack. It doesn't seem, it seems better, but it really isn't when you start to see what you're able to do with this hero. A2 though attacks all enemies. It's got a 3-turn cooldown, increases the damage inflicted by 1% for each of the 1% of missing HP on this hero. So you got to think, if you're on 90% HP, you've lost 10%, so you're doing 10% extra damage. So you can imagine if you're able to get to 50 or even 30% HP remaining, you're doing over 50 to 70% extra damage with this AoE. And it also slaps. It does a truck ton of damage, which you're going to see obviously in the video gameplay section later on. When we go into our good old ultimate, this is what everyone loves to see because it attacks all enemies. If the target's divinity is above 50%, then you increase this damage inflicted by 50%. A lot of the time, the enemy's divinity is going to be above 50%. It just naturally is. Unless you've got a really good divinity controller or someone that can steal it like the Hound of Dua or ASGARD, then this is going to be actually quite high. And when that's high, that means you're going to be nuking. And when you nuke, guess what? You also place a barrier on this hero equal to 15% of this hero's maximum HP. Oh, man. It just allows you to just tank like a monster while doing an absurd amount of damage. When you go to his passive, when an ally on enemy activates their ultimate ability, he has a 50% chance to increase this hero's divinity by 10%. And this has no, obviously, details on scaling because it's his passive. So when you look at Gilgamesh, I'm going to be honest, his skills aren't crazy if you think about it. They're not putting initiative down, they're not speed down, they're not attack down, they're no attack ups or defense ups, there's no buffs or debuffs in any way. It's just damage. And when you look at the numbers as well, they don't even seem like that much. But what if I told you this is one of the strongest hitting heroes by far in the Alpha Wave 1. The amount of damage Gilgamesh can pop out is kind of obscene, and I'm going to showcase my build that I was running on him for the longest of time, and I haven't even upgraded it, which is going to make you guys absolutely laugh when you see the amount of damage that it deals. Before we do that, what are some good hero combinations? You guys like this part of the video where I talk about some good hero combinations. He is honestly good all about joint attacks. So again, if you're able to get joint attacks in with these two heroes, you're going to be doing some good old fashioned damage, right? People mistaken, obviously, Shishi. Shishi does have a different faction. Otherwise, it would be really cool if you can combo that. But what you can do with Shishi and Gilgamesh in a team is with that Shishi, you got to remember, you're able to place a barrier onto allies. So if you're placing barriers onto allies, and guess what? Your Gilgamesh is generating his own barrier, these do add on and keep stacking and stacking up as of Alpha Wave 1, and we can expect Alpha Wave 2 and the future games to have a limit on how much you're able to stack up, but this does allow you to actually make it very defensive. Same with heroes like Brynhild. If we find our good girl Brynhild, she's actually really good with him too, because a lot of the time you don't realize you're able to put Radiance 2 and this massive shield onto your Gilgamesh, and if you're able to make him just sustain damage too, well, that shield is 1 health bar. You've got the barrier, which is a 2nd health bar, and then you've got your HP, which is your 3rd health bar. And by doing stuff like that, you're able to stack these health bars that you can make sure, if you really want to, that your Gilgamesh takes a little bit of damage, even if it's like 20 or 30% of damage, and then stack the barriers, and that will allow him just to do even more damage as he already does. Honestly, this hero carried me so hard, it is unreal. And as you can see, none of my heroes apart from Shamash now were level 60. Honestly, I completed the game all 150 and 151 of the Alpha Wave 1 experience with level 50 heroes and not 60, which I think again is really good. It just showcases potentially how fair the game might be as long as you know what you're doing and you learn the mechanics and you start doing the stages correctly, right? So when it comes to gear, the fun part, what is the secrets to Gilgamesh? So the first secret is this weapon. This weapon is insane on your Gilgamesh, and one thing that I realized is you don't even care about the accuracy, it's just this line of text. And I did do some testing myself to test HP percent versus attack percent, because you would expect if you had HP percent and the current HP of my hero, 10% of it is increased on my attack, it should do a shit ton more of a steroid. But unfortunately, it doesn't, and it's actually better to split it up. So if you get attack percentage and the normal ability of Hacker, which is gain 10% of your current HP as attack, you're going to get one of the biggest steroids you're able to put onto this hero. This is one thing that I found really early on and never looked back on. If you want a good imprint, and you can imagine what this is, you've been reading the title, it's going to be Beowulf. The Beowulf imprint, increasing the damage deal to bosses, so you can now nuke bosses too, and on top of this, brawlers. So if you're going against Anubises and just annoying brawlers, I'm going to be honest, there's a lot of annoying brawlers in this game, you're able just to nuke them as well a little bit easier. So it is a nice piece of gear. Now, when we look at the rest, you'll notice my only level 16 gear that we're going to equip onto my march was this. This was the only level 16 gear I actually 16'd properly and used in the game. And you'll notice for your Gilgamesh, there's a common theme here on all of the pieces of gear, which is your crit percentage and your crit damage. And you can notice I've got the set bonus giving me 20% critical chance, and I've got the good old Jaguar giving me 15% critical damage. This is key. This is the key to your whole Gilgamesh, because what you're trying to do, especially when you level up your gear, so if we are able to find a legendary or epic piece of boots with speed, crit percent, and then whatever stats down here, and we're able to get some good rolls on these two stats. What you're trying to do is get 100% crit chance with over as much as like 150, 200, 250% critical damage, as much as you can on that. Because the thing is, your HP, as you'll notice, is over 37.5k. And when you read your Hacker now, you got to think, I have now just gained 3,754 attack. That's how much attack I have on my attack, which is kind of crazy when you look at it. Then this is my attack percentage. So this is 45%. So it'll take 45% of that stat now. And that's how much damage I'm dealing. So if we go into a game with all of this, you'll get to see how good this build is, because this build, like I said, was the one that carried me through all of the stages in the game, right? So if we just go to just a little bit easier, just to show it off a little bit more, so we'll go to like, not 120, we'll go to like 110 or something. There we go, we'll go 110, right? We will rock in our main team here and put in either, do we put in our ISIS or should we put in Sphinx? We'll put in we'll put in Scat it. We'll put in Scat it. We'll keep it how we ran and won the game, right? So when you look at this now, you got to think, we're going to have this hero, and he's already going ahead than them, which is very important, right? And what I'm going to do here, I'm going to try and lock down at least one of these heroes, so then if, for example, we don't kill them with one of our moves, we're able to actually, you know, not let them wipe us out. So what we're doing here is using Aphrodite, like I kind of mentioned earlier, with joint attacks onto our Gilgamesh. And if I just go to attack this good old Guan Yu, there we go. We just did 42,000 damage and absolutely obliterated him. Same goes on these other heroes. We could do the A2 here and just to see how much damage that does, but I'm going to try and save that for next round. But for the Dagonet, look at that, 18.7k, he's on 1 HP. We didn't crit, and this is why 100% crit chance is super important for this hero. You just need that guaranteed crit, or you could go for the I think it's the accuracy or the initiative on your hero. One of them does also increase your strong hit chance, so if you want to try and get more strong hits, you're able to do that as well. That's another mechanic. But just to showcase another joint attack, boom, we take him out. Then we'll go and take out the shock because our good old Dagonet is invisible, and then we go. Nice and easy. So now this is where things get really interesting, because you'll notice I have a Shamash, Gilga, and Aphrodite. And I've kept this ultimate up on purpose because this is going to allow the Shamash and Gilgamesh to actually joint attack. So if I go to freeze, for example, Muldred, because we don't want Muldred to do their move, but unfortunately they got it through. What we're going to do now is then attack, and there we go. Boom! No matter what, you ain't surviving 56,000 total damage there. 16 from the Shamash and over 40k from this guy here, right? Moving over now, let's try and hit our AoE move now. And we go, boom, look at that. 26, 24, and 24,000. Nearly one shot in all of these. And that is, again, a hero that's taken no damage yet. So that is just the damage on its raw form. And I can imagine in the future certain combinations where you're able to make your Gilgamesh take damage from hero synergies, like from certain vampires maybe in the future, that will make him just absolutely hit like a truck, right? Absolutely hit like a truck. So let's finish this wave. Let's get our ultimate for our Gilgamesh and then show off his big slam, which everyone absolutely adores too. And where you can get his ultimate up and do some really cool combos is stuff like using, you know, this speed up here to speed him down, then using our Aphrodite and going boom. So now we've gained a bit of divinity over here, We've got 0 divinity on our Aphrodite, but I do also have full divinity on Miss Gilgamesh, and I can now just go, boom, Gilgamesh. Bang, look at that. Almost one-shot this guy, killed, and obviously we should have killed him. We didn't, but it is what it is, right? So we can just finish off Percival for this wave. So yeah, Gilgamesh is crazy. He's just absolutely crazy. And you got to think, this is my build that is not even fully optimized. It really isn't. It is not optimized in the slightest, which is kind of crazy to think about, right? That it's doing all this damage, and yet we're using green and, you know, look at that. One shot. 54.5k. We one-shot the Odin boss on this stage with him. Like, do we need to showcase anymore? Look at that, 55.6k damage on Gilgamesh here. Absolutely crazy. And you know what's even more crazier, by the way? We could increase his damage because if you didn't know, Shamash here also gives an attack up too. Yes, he does. You saw that right. So if I want to, boom, 71.6k damage for that Gilgamesh, right? So this is what I'm talking about. One of the best epic nukers in the entire game. And I absolutely adore that hero. And just think, this is a Gilgamesh that I have been using and what carried me all the way to completing stage 150 and obviously the Fafnir 151 with this gear. With this gear, it wasn't even insane gear, guys. Like, look, it just wasn't insane. Just to have a nice little check, you can pause the video and check out each of these pieces individually so you can see what we were rolling on there. But look at that. Absolutely crazy. If I could, like I said, I would try to get the accuracy up potentially on this hero. If I was able to get the accuracy up a little bit, it would be better, because accuracy is also going to increase the chance to strong hit. And if I strong hit and I critical strike at 100%, that's a lot of damage. That's a lot of damage, as everyone will say. So I've absolutely loved Gilgamesh. That's going to be my Gilgamesh hero spotlight video. We've gone through all of his abilities, including the awakenings, gone through his stats, what gear is good, what hero combinations is good, and shown off the Smash Man himself. So until the next video, guys, smash a like, comment, and subscribe. Till then, stay safe, stay sneaky. Peace out.